Hello there. Welcome back to the Star Wars Podcast Racer. I'm Tyler, and once again, I have my sister Ashley with me. You can say something if you want.
We meet again.
Indeed. I don't remember which episode number this is, so whatever. It's in the title. Who cares? But yes.
You said.
What?
You said it was 2.
No, I meant episode of the podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, I know what episode of the Star Wars it is. But yeah, so speaking of which, yes, we just watched Attack of the Clones, episode 2, and let's just start with initial thoughts.
I liked it better than the last one.
I thought you would.
Yeah. I liked it. It was good.
Good, okay. Well, that's good for initial thoughts. Let's, like last time, why don't you just give a recap of what happened in it?
Well, Anakin grew up.
Yes, he hit the puberty.
He went back and went to that girl, I forgot her name.
Padme.
Mm-hmm. And they fell in love.
Apparently.
And he had a nightmare about his mom, and so he went to go find her. And she died, and so he killed everybody.
Yeah, all these guys, Tusken Raiders.
Yep. Then there was this scene that looked like it was a scene from The Gladiator.
Yeah. I love how you just are completely skipping over all of Obi-Wan stuff throughout this recap.
Yeah. Then there was a sword fighting scene that lasted forever.
This one was incredibly short.
And then it was the end.
This one was the lightsaber duel in this one was incredibly short. So it's one of the main complaints I have about it is that it was too short of a lightsaber duel, but whatever. Yeah, better. All right. So this movie is interesting for me. This is my least favorite of the original 6. For a few reasons. Not that I hate it by any means. It's still very important and I like it. But
you don't like romance?
Yeah, I don't like romance by itself typically, but I do enjoy a good romance in a action movie or whatever. But I have some issues with the way this one was written.
It was a little weird.
I will actually get into that right now. Here's the problem that even George Lucas kind of knew. This movie had a lot of issues in the pre and post production. And basically because George Lucas was independently financing it, it essentially is an independent movie. It meant that he had a very strict deadline or else he would have essentially run out of money for it. So he only had a 3-year development time from the last movie to this movie, and he was having trouble writing the script. He knew what he wanted, but he was having trouble figuring out how to write it correctly. And because of that, he ran out of time for it to get one more pass by somebody else, because George Lucas is good at writing stories, and he even will admit he's not great at writing dialogue. So he wanted it to have one more pass with somebody else to try to make the dialogue a little bit more natural, maybe tighten up some of the story issues, but he ran out of that time. So yeah, some of the dialogue, I don't like sand, or the whole Anakin being like, hey, we need fascism, and Padme just essentially getting turned on by that or something. I don't know. There was a couple of weird things.
Well, the dialogue between them was really corny. It sounded like it came out of a Shakespeare book.
Yeah. And that's just because, again, George Lucas is not the best when it comes to dialogue. And it really does show, which is unfortunate because their romance is very important for the story of Star Wars as a whole. Still, though, it's fine enough. It gets the job done. It's just not one of my favorite parts of it by any means. There is also a whole, the movie is supposed to be kind of like a mystery of sorts. The mystery of, who's the one that, ordered the clones, who did this. Like, there's the names Sifo-Dyas and Tyrannus that are thrown out there, and like, oh, this mystery of what's going to happen. The problem is, due to like, again, issues with the script and things they had to cut and change and stuff, you don't actually have all the pieces together to put the to figure out the mystery. It's a mystery that essentially you can't solve.
I have found both movies somewhat confusing. I think that, I don't know. I think the second one was much easier to follow than the last one, and I think that's why, like you said, I skipped over explaining all the other, stuff, and I think that's part of it. Is because the Anakin and Padme storyline is easier to follow for me, like the humans, than trying to figure out all the little, like, weird characters.
Yeah, I get that. It is one of those things, like, again, because like the actual story, like the story of episode 2 itself, which is mostly the Obi-Wan stuff, that is not nearly as, like, it's more exciting, but it's not nearly as important, sort of, kind of, as the Anakin and Padme stuff. So, like, because that's the bigger, like, series-wide one. So yeah, I get that too. But this is the start of the Clone Wars, which you'd have no idea what the Clone Wars was, but it's a very important war in Star Wars. And actually, that leads to, after this movie came out, they did a 2D miniseries, 3 seasons of it, actually, right here.
Wasn't that used to be on TV?
Clone Wars, yeah, they did it.
You used to watch that, didn't you?
Yes, I did watch it.
I remember that.
I'm not sure if you remember me watching these ones. Did you? Do you remember those?
I just remember the name Clone Wars.
Yeah. Well, because that's the thing. The other one, which I'll bring next time, they did, after they did these, they also did a CGI series of the Clone Wars, which lasted a lot longer. But yeah, it basically tells everything that happens in between this movie and episode 3, which is the entirety of the Clone Wars, which is, again, very important. Here's the other thing when it comes to the whole, like, planning of the whole saga. This movie was essentially supposed to be like episode 1 originally, when George Lucas was going back to write the prequels. Because the prequels were going to be set in the Clone Wars, and then you'll learn about the original trilogy later. But it was supposed to start with the beginning of the Clone Wars. However, George Lucas really, really felt like it was important to see that scene of Anakin leaving his mom as a young child. And so because of that, because he didn't want George Lucas doesn't do flashbacks in these movies. Like, he won't do it as like, oh, well, let's show a flashback. The way he directed all these is he wanted them to be almost like a documentary style, where, like, you're not going to just suddenly see things like from the past or whatever. It's like whatever the characters see, you see. So because of that, he was like, well, I can't do this as a flashback, or I won't do it as a flashback. So I'm going to come up with his own complete story for episode 1, and then my original plan for episode 1 will essentially just be episode 2. And I personally think that the prequel trilogy kind of suffers because of that a little bit. It can get a little confusing, and some things that just don't feel important. Because, like, almost the entirety of episode 1, it seems almost unimportant. Like, everything that happened on Naboo, apart from Padme, does not really come up with this at all.
Yeah, I would agree, though, that, in episode 1, the bond that you got to see between Anakin and his mom was important. I think if you would have seen episode 2 without seeing the closeness that him and his mom shared, it wouldn't have had as much of a
impact.
Yeah, an emotional impact, and
That's true. That's
understanding his anger
Yeah.
and all of that.
That is very, very true. That's what, which is also why, like, some people will just say to skip episode 1 entirely, and I don't agree with that because of that. Like, I do think it's important. I don't know. I kind of feel like there is a way he could have done it, but he probably would have had to use flashbacks or something like that, and he refused to. And I respect that. You know, it's his artistic vision. I just kind of feel like it suffers a little bit because of that. There is some like wider story issues because of that, but yeah, he felt that was the way to do it. Most importantly, so fair enough. Though because of that, it does make the actual Clone Wars series seem a lot more important than it probably should have been, because it actually gives you all the details in the Clone Wars. Let's see. What else I'm trying to think of what else I need to really say about this. Oh, yeah. My experience here, because I have a very unique experience with episode 2. So I said last time, I got episode 1 at the garage sale. Watched it over and over again, and then eventually Mom and Dad got me episode 2. So I rented episode 2 a couple times from ET Video Plus, you know, the VHS rental place.
Which was thebomb.com. That was the best place ever on a Friday night.
It was. I loved that place. It was the little like things.
Yeah, the little tokens
yeah.
that were Velcroed to the shelf. You
And
pull
half
off.
the time they were in the wrong one. Oh, I loved it.
And the lady that worked there worked at our school too. Remember that?
I did not know that, actually.
Yeah, she worked at our elementary school.
I'd never recognized people, so I wouldn't have known. But rented it from there a couple times, and then it was around Christmas time. That time they were selling a copy, I think, or whatever, a used copy there on VHS. So Mom and Dad bought it. So I had that at Christmas, which was great. Here's the thing, though. The VHS copy of Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones starts with a special bonus video at the very beginning. This special bonus video is R2-D2 and C-3PO explaining the entire plot of all of the Star Wars movies. So for me, who had just started with episode 1 and was now just watching episode 2, I basically watched episode 1, got episode 2, put it in, and then got spoiled for the entire rest of the series before I could watch episode 2, which was very funny. Very funny. I don't know. I think there is this weird thing where from like the distribution, marketing, and all of that, they're acting under the assumption that everybody already knows Star Wars, like when they were releasing them, which I understand why. I mean, Star Wars was this massive phenomenon in the 70s and 80s, and was still quite popular and everything. And I mean, like everybody knows, like, I'm your father and things like that. They know who Darth Vader is, sort of, at least by appearance. So I do sort of understand that, but it is very weird where, like, in the back of the box for episode 1, it said, like, 30 years before the original Star Wars, Darth Vader is just a small, innocent boy named Anakin Skywalker. And it, like, just spoils everything because they're assuming everybody already knows it. And that's why they did for episode 2, like I said, and on the VHS, they just started it with this bonus video where they just explained the whole series with clips and all that. It was really weird for me at the time because I was coming into Star Wars via the prequel trilogy. But most people weren't. And those people that weren't did not like this movie. They did not like episode 1. Typically, though, most people seem to like episode 1 less than episode 2. Mostly because of the big battle at the end and everything with the clones and all that coming in. That seems to be very favored by a lot of people. So a few other things with episode 2. So last time I mentioned how there was like 17 or something video games for episode 1. The marketing push for episode 2 was definitely scaled back a bit. There was only maybe 6 or 7 video games specifically tied into episode 2, which still a lot, but not. What the weirdest part is that they don't because typically around that time, or whatever, if there was going to be a big movie, there'd be a big game based off of the movie. Like there was Star Wars Episode 1, the game, released on PC and PlayStation and all that. And, a bunch of other ones. Episode 2, though, did not have that. They didn't have a console game that was Episode 2, the game. They had a Game Boy Advance game, like a handheld game, that was Episode 2, the game. But not a big one, not a big console one, which is... I know you don't care, but it's just very weird from a video game fan perspective that they never did that. Still, some good games from there. Sorry, I just got distracted thinking about something. A lot of good books, too. They did this series. So between episode 1 and episode 2, they released this children's chapter books, like those like thin chapter books that they do for children. They released a series of those that were covering Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's as master and apprentice before episode 1. But then after episode 2 came out, the same people that were making those books, they ended that series and they started making one that was Obi-Wan and Anakin between episode 1 and 2, showing him how Anakin was trained up until episode 2, which is a very, very cool idea. I read one of those books. I don't know. They were fine. I was already at that point, I was kind of too old for it, so I just never really bothered reading more. But yeah, there were some interesting things from there. I don't know if I can really think of anything else. There is other things I want to talk about with it, but they kind of would lead into episode 3 spoilers because there was a lot of overlap between the two of those. Probably because they both cover the Clone Wars, But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can really say for this one. Yeah, not as much to talk about this time. Oh, actually, I can say this because I was talking about a lot of issues with the production of it, pre-production and also post-production. There's a lot of deleted scenes and a lot of things that were changed. They actually had to add a whole bunch of scenes, or not a whole bunch, but they had to add a few scenes where they show Anakin and Obi-Wan actually getting along because test audiences were like, "Wow, they hate each other," and that wasn't supposed to be the point. It was supposed to be kind of like a teenager kind of rebelling against this parent but they're supposed to be actual love there. So they had to show they filmed that elevator scene at the very beginning of the movie or whatever where they're just kind of talking hanging happily out, and hanging. Yeah, they had to do a few things like that.
Where he said there was one point where he couldn't find him, he was tracking him or whatever, and he said, "I hope he's okay."
Yeah. A couple things like that. They had to throw in. The other issue they had was because of how, again, there was a lot of dialogue and important things and a lot of romance or whatever. That was kind of the point of this one. Because of that, there was a lot less action than a lot of people would expect from a Star Wars movie. And test audiences were getting bored. Because, again, they were expecting more action throughout it. So they had to add in a couple of extra action scenes.
Which is funny to me because I'm the opposite. I feel I can only deal with so many sword fights before I'm bored.
Yeah, I know. You're to be fair, you're not exactly the target audience. I mean, the target audience of Star Wars is essentially 12-year-old boys. So yeah, they had to add in a few the droid factory scene where Anakin and Padme were constantly in danger and there were the conveyor belts and stuff. All that was added later. That was not originally meant to be in the movie.
That's funny.
Yeah. There's also a whole bunch of deleted scenes where Padme and Anakin are with Padme's family. You see Padme's parents, her sister, and they talk again, just a lot more
all those
dramatic.
Poor actors and actresses who
Yes.
never got their day in the movie.
I feel so bad because one of them were I do know. I think it was it Padme's dad or whatever. One of them was all excited, telling everybody I'm in a Star Wars movie. I'm going to do it, and they went to see it in theaters, and they weren't in there,
and they didn't know.
No, well, they don't tell
horrible.
people. But if you're in a deleted scene, they don't tell you. I mean, they're just because you're paid for. I know it's. I think they were just kind of laughing about it later or whatever. I mean, you could see on the home videos, you can still see them or whatever. Obviously. So they could see it. They could show people the scenes. See this, I was doing it, but Yeah, it is kind of sad, like to just have all of this stuff there that's cut. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this time. Oh yeah, what do you think about Palpatine,
Who?
the Supreme Chancellor? He's the leader of the Republic, the Senate, the one that they voted him. Jar Jar helped vote emergency powers to him so that he could.
Is he like the older one that was talking to? He kind of seemed bad.
He was talking to he was talking to a lot of the people, whatever. Again, he's the one in the last movie. He was a senator for Naboo, and he was given or he was voted after they voted a vote of no confidence for the current chancellor. He was elected chancellor at the very end of that movie, and then in this one, after 10 years, it was about his time was up, and then thanks to this war or whatever, he was given emergency power so he could still stay in and also more quickly just automatically be like, yes, we're going to have the Grand Army of the Republic and everything without even having to vote.
My guess is that he's going to be the one that gets Anakin to become Darth Vader.
Okay. I just didn't know how you felt about the guy, basically.
I got the feeling that he was evil.
I mean, he is a politician, so I mean.
True. I'm curious to see because obviously I know, the whole Luke, I am your father. So obviously I know Darth Vader is Anakin. And Anakin just got secretly married.
Yes.
So my assumption is she gets pregnant, but they don't tell anybody that he's the dad, right? So my best guess, because something has to happen for him to turn evil. So my best guess is that something's going to happen to her. Like she's going to somehow die. And then he's going to be like heartbroken and mad. And then he's just going to like go off the deep end would be my guess.
It's a good guess. It's a good guess. I mean, we definitely did already see some dark side tendencies in this movie. Like again, once his mom died and he
killed everyone. He said he killed children and the women and all that.
Yep, the women, the children, the men. And he hated them. He slaughtered them like animals. Yeah. But the I hate them is very telling. Because if you remember in the first movie, you probably don't, but Yoda told him, like, listen, fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. That's the path of the dark side.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets there. Or who knows, maybe... I don't know much about Darth Vader, so who knows? Maybe he's really just looks bad and he's really just a good guy underneath it all. Maybe the last episode, it's like, wow, he actually saves the day. He's the hero.
And maybe. I say maybe as if I don't know explicitly. I will say also one other thing to point out with that, because we can kind of see it a lot more here. Again, in episode 1, Anakin says, I don't like change. I don't like change. And his mom's like, you can't stop the change. And this one, he's like, I could have saved her. I should have saved her. I should have been strong enough to save her. I want to be strong enough to stop death. Anakin has a real problem with letting go of things and allowing change to happen.
Which is why I think that guy has something to do with it. I think he's going to somehow convince Anakin that if he partners with him, that he'll be able to initially, he's going to talk him into, like, if you do this, you can do good, or you can, have the power to help people or whatever, and then it's going to morph into something bad.
One last thing I just remembered, because I almost forgot to mention this, because I always forget about it. Count Dooku. It was revealed he was a Sith, because he had the red lightsaber. He was shooting the lightning.
You use the names, but I don't know the names of these people.
Count Dooku. He was the old bearded guy that was the head of the bad guys. He was the one that was... He was the one they were fighting in the very last lightsaber battle.
Oh, okay.
Yoda went and did a bunch of flippy flips around him. Yeah, okay. So at he is Lord Tyrannus. That's his Sith name, is Darth Tyrannus. They didn't make it explicitly clear in the movie, but I'm just letting you know. Yeah, because his master is Darth Sidious, who was also the master of Darth Maul from the last movie. Darth Maul died. Well, okay, he didn't technically die, but essentially he died for the sake of the movies. And then now Darth Tyrannus, Count Dooku, is Darth Tyrannus, the new Sith apprentice to Darth Sidious. So those are the Sith. So you got the Sith guys, Darth Sidious, and right now Darth Tyrannus / Count Dooku. So, you know.
I feel like I need a typed out
flowchart
cheat sheet. Yeah, that would be great. Maybe next time you could have some homework. Make me a little chart I can keep these people. I can keep track of these people in my head. Who's who? Because they all have really weird names and they all have really weird voices and they all look really weird. And I don't know. They just all look weird, so I can't tell them all apart.
It's easier for me to tell them all apart than it is to tell real people apart.
Like those ones in the episode tonight was creepy as heck. They were like really tall, like abnormally tall, and like with really tiny heads.
The Camodians, Camino. I can't think how you pronounce their species name, but they're from Camino. The cloners from Camino.
They
there.
were creepy.
Yeah, I guess you could say so. I don't know. I'm so used to weird looking aliens and stuff. It doesn't seem creepy to me at all.
I don't mean creepy like I was scared. I just mean like I don't like the way they looked. They were.
That's fair. Again, I'm different. But all right. Any other last things? You got any other theories or anything? I know you already said what you think's going to happen with Anakin, but
no, that's about it.
What do you think is going to happen to Obi-Wan?
He's kind of like the only storyline that I feel invested in.
That's
all the others.
That's fair. I mean, that's the important one you're supposed to be invested in. So yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not really caring too much about how it ends up for all the other weird creatures.
Wow. Okay. So you don't care what happens to Jar Jar?
Is Jar Jar the one that you had the toy for last time?
He's
not really, honestly.
Yeah, they made him a representative. Somebody elected him into their Congress. So
he's living the good life.
I guess. I don't know why you do that. I don't know who would do that. Like, who would trust Jar Jar with politics? But alrighty. Well, I guess that's going to be it then for right now. Then next time we will be watching Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, which I guess tells you a bit of a hint of what's going to happen to that one.
That sounds dark.
It's the first one, the only one of the 6 that we're watching that's PG-13.
Okay.
Though, technically, granted, that's because to be fair, when the original trilogy came out, PG-13 did not exist yet. So, there's that.
Sounds like a lot of lightsabers and action.
Sort of, yeah, technically. But there's some very emotional things that are going on.
Okay, just tell me one thing.
Sure.
How old is Anakin in the next one?
So it's going to be 3 years later, so 21.
Okay, so we're not jumping too far ahead. No. So this isn't good. Darth Vader's not going to be in this one.
I didn't say that. I just said.
But Darth Vader was when the Luke Skywalker's like an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd have to be like.
I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not spoiling it.
All right, don't spoil anything.
Next one's gonna be. Next one's a big important one. All right. Well, that's gonna be it for this episode then. Thanks everybody for listening. Catch you next time, and may the Force be with you.